Human physiology, important unit in 11th CBSE biology. In that, the first chapter is digestion and absorption. Students, in this video, we are going to revise few important points for the coming NEET exam. So, we know the tube, continuous tube from mouth to anus is considered as alimentary canal or gastrointestinal tract GIT or digestive canal. Now, on tongue, we can find three types of papillae. The first one is filiform papillae, and this is the most abundant papillae, and it does not have any kind of taste buds in filiform papillae. In fungiform papillae, it appears as red dots on the tongue, and it has taste buds for different taste. And third one is foliate papillae. It is not developed in the humans. Now, the third one, circumvallate papillae in the humans, it is the largest and knob like. It contains taste buds for the bitter taste. So, circumvallate papillae, it has a taste buds for the bitter taste, and it is knob like, and it is the largest papillae on the human tongue. Now come to the tooth. The tooth outer covering is outer part will be considered as crown, and it 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 has enamel, that is the hardest substance in the vertebrates, which is made up of calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate. And fluorine element is used to harden the tooth. And dentine is present between enamel and pulp. Between enamel and pulp, we can find a part of the tooth called dentine. And odontoblasts are the cells that are going to secrete the hardest part of the tooth, that is enamel. Odontoblasts are the cells which are going to secrete enamel, and you should remember enamel is made up of calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate, which is the hardest part of our body. Now, based on the teeth in the lifetime, we are considered as diphyodont, because in our lifetime we will be having two sets of teeth, milk teeth and permanent teeth. And in our buccal cavity, we have different types of teeth like incisors, canine, premolar and molar. So that's why our teeth shows heterodont, because we have different types of teeth in our buccal cavity. They are incisors, canines, premolar and molar. And their incisors are responsible for biting and cutting, whereas molars responsible for grinding the food. A thecodont means the teeth are embedded in a bony socket called theca or jaws. Our teeth are embedded in a bony socket. That embedded teeth are considered as thecodont. Diastema is the natural space between the two types of teeth. Very important point here. Diastema means a natural space present between the two types of teeth. The dental formula of adult teeth is 2123 by 2123, and total 32 teeth you can find in adult teeth. Milk teeth will be having 2102, 2102, which means what? Premolars totally absent. Premolars are absent in children. In milk teeth, only 2102 by 2102 is the milk dental formula, where you can find premolars and last molars are absent in milk teeth. Premolar and last molars are going to be absent. And out of 32 teeth, 20 teeth are diphyodont and grows twice in our life. Out of 32, 20 teeth are growing twice in our life. That's why out of 32, 20 are diphyodont and remaining 12 are monophyodont. Monophyodont means they grow only once in our lifetime, and they are premolar and last molars. Premolars and last molars are going to grow once in our lifetime. They are monophyodont. Now, pharynx is a common passage for food and air, you know it. And here you remember gullet. Gullet is the aperture leads to esophagus. Gullet is the aperture leads to esophagus, and glottis. Glottis is the aperture leads to trachea, larynx and trachea both. Glottis is the aperture leads to larynx and trachea, and glottis, epiglottis. Epiglottis prevents the entry of food into the trachea or windpipe. Okay, the entry of food is prevented into the trachea or windpipe by epiglottis. And remember, epiglottis is absent in frog. And remember about the esophagus, it is not going to secrete any kind of digestive enzymes, but it secretes mucus which helps to transport the food into the stomach. Esophagus, it secretes mucus. With the help of that mucus, the food is going to transported into the stomach. Now, stomach, we know it's a J-shaped structure. It has three regions, that is cardiac, fundus and pyloric. Stomach is J-shaped organ, muscular organ. It has three parts: cardiac, fundus and pyloric. These are the three parts. Now, inner layer of the stomach is having gastric mucosa. It has gastric gland made up of two types of cells. The gastric gland of our stomach is made up of two types of cells. The first one is called as peptic cells, zymogen or chief cells. Same, peptic, zymogen or chief cells. The main function of these enzyme are they are going to secrete the enzyme protease, pepsinogen and prorenin. The main function of zymogen or chief cells of gastric gland is to produce an enzyme protease, pepsinogen and prorenin, and these cells are present in the fundus part of our stomach. The zymogen or chief cells are present in fundus part of the stomach. The second type of cells in gastric gland is parietal or oxyntic cells, and its main function is to produce hydrochloric acid that helps in digestion of protein and activating some enzymes. And also the oxyntic cells or parietal cells produce Castle's intrinsic factor, which helps in the absorption of vitamin B12, which is very important for the production of red blood cells. So Castle's intrinsic factor also produced by parietal cells or oxyntic cells, that is going to help to absorb the vitamin B12. Now come to small intestine. Small intestine has three shaped, a U-shaped duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Duodenum, jejunum and ileum are the three parts of the small intestine. Now here between stomach and duodenum there is one sphincter called pyloric sphincter, which prevent the backflow of food from duodenum to stomach. Now the mucous membrane in the small intestine has folds called piliaceae circulars or folds of Kirkrings, and you can find in small intestine GALT, means gut associated lymphoid tissue, and in ileum part you can find pairs of patches, that is also a part of lymphoid tissue that are going to protect our body from the infection. So that is about the small intestine inner mucous membrane layer. Now in intestine you can find two types of glands. One is crypts of lubricants. One type of intestinal gland is crypts of lubricants. It has different types of cells like Paneth cells, goblet cells and Argentophin cells. So here the Paneth cells secrete some enzymes, antibacterial enzymes in the intestine, that is by crypts of lubricants. Crypts of lubricants has Paneth cells that produce enzymes, and goblet cells produce mucus that helps in the movement of the food, and Argentophin cells, they are going to produce 5-hydroxytryptamine, which increase intestinal movement. So this is about the first gland of the intestine called crypts of lubricant. Remember three types of cells: Paneth cells, goblet cells and Argentophin cells. Second type of glands you can find in intestine is Brunner's gland. So this Brunner's glands present in the duodenum part of the small intestine. It secretes mucus. In addition to that, Brunner's gland secretes two important hormones. One is secretin and another one is cholecystokinin. Remember children, Brunner's gland is a second glands of intestine, small intestine. It is present in the duodenum part of the small intestine. It is going to secrete two important hormones called secretin and cholecystokinin, and these hormones are going to play a very important role in stimulating the secretion of pancreatic juice, secretion of pancreatic juice. Now remember the next is large intestine. It has three regions: cecum, colon, and rectum. In cecum, you can find another part called vermiform appendix, which is a vestigial organ. Vermiform appendix is a vestigial organ. In serosa part of the inner, the outer layer of large intestine, serosa, you can find epiploic appendages that stores the fat. Epiploic appendage that stores the fat in the large intestine. Now salivary glands are of three types: parotid, submandibular, and sublingual. So parotid salivary glands present in front of the ear, and it is going to produce saliva and that saliva comes to the buccal cavity with the help of Stenson's duct associated to parotid salivary gland. Second is submandibular or submaxillary salivary gland. It is present near the mandible, and the secretion of this salivary gland is collected by Warthen's duct. And last type of salivary gland is sublingual salivary gland. It is present at the floor of the buccal cavity, and its secretion is collected by a duct called duct of Rivinus. Now you should remember there is one disease associated to the inflammation of parotid salivary gland that is called as mumps. It's a viral disease, and the virus is paramyxovirus that is causes the inflammation to parotid salivary gland. And remember about liver. Liver is the largest gland. It has hepatic labules, which is the structural and functional unit containing liver cells called hepatocytes. Remember, liver is the largest gland of our digestive system. It has hepatic lobules, which is a structural and functional unit containing liver cells called hepatocytes. And we must remember, liver going to secrete a juice called bile juice, digestive juice, bile juice, which is alkaline and yellow green in color, and it does not have any kind of digestive enzyme, but the bile salts of the bile juice are going to emulsify the fat. So the main function of bile juice here is emulsification of fat because of the presence of bile salts. Emulsification of fat done by bile salts of the bile juice. Now which are the bile salts? Sodium or potassium tarcholate, sodium or potassium glycocolate. Liver is covered by a capsule called Glissen's capsules, and in the liver there are certain cells called Kupffer cells, which are the macrophages of the liver, and they are phagocytic in nature. Kupffer cells are phagocytic in nature, protecting the liver. Kupffer cells are phagocytic in nature. Now there is one duct called hepatopancreatic duct. It is guarded by sphincter of Oddi. Hepatopancreatic duct, a common duct between liver and pancreas. It is guarded by sphincter of Oddi, remember. And hepatic portal vein, it is going to drain the blood to liver from the intestine. From the intestine, hepatic portal vein is going to drain the blood. And cholecystokinin, it is responsible for the contraction of gallbladder. Gallbladder stores bile juice. Gallbladder, it's a pouch that stores the bile juice. It is undergo contraction under the influence of hormone called cholecystokinin produced by small intestine. And next is about pancreas, which is having both the exocrine and endocrine part. Exocrine produces pancreatic juice, whereas endocrine part produces two hormones called insulin and glucagon. That's why pancreas is considered as a dual gland. And saliva, we are going to find salivary amylase, which is also called as tallin. In addition to that, it is having lysozyme, which is an antibacterial enzyme, and it has certain ions like sodium ion, potassium ion, chloride ion, and bicarbonate ion. And remember, out of this, chloride ion is responsible for the activation of salivary amylase or tallin, and this salivary amylase converts the starch, polysaccharide starch, into disaccharide maltose. And in the stomach, we have enzymes like pepsinogen, which is in inactive form, and HCl is going to convert into active pepsin. Similarly, prorenin, also inactive enzyme, but in the presence of HCl, hydrochloric acid, and pepsin, it converts to active renin. And that renin enzyme is going to digest casein to produce paracasein. That paracasein combines with calcium to form solid curd. Paracasein combines with calcium to form solid curd. And there is one enzyme called lingual lipase that is going to digest fat and convert fat into fatty acid and glycerol with the help of lingual lipase. And remember, lingual lipase and renin, they are present only in infants, only in small children. They are not present in the adults. Which are those? Which are the two enzymes? Renin and lingual lipase, present only in the infants. Remember that. Now in pancreatic juice, there is a digestion of protein, carbohydrate and lipid. These three biomolecules are going to digest. In pancreatic juice, there are certain enzymes like trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidase. All these are in inactive form, or they are the proenzyme. Under the influence of enterokinase or enteropeptidase, which is a part of intestinal juice, all these proenzymes converts to active enzymes trypsin, chymotrypsin and carboxypeptidase. Similarly, coagulation of milk is by chymotrypsin in alkaline medium. Chymotrypsin coagulate the milk. And pancreatic juice contains lipase enzyme, pancreatic amylase, trypsinogen, carboxypeptidase, chymotrypsinogen and nuclease. These are the different enzymes present in pancreatic juice that plays a very important role in the digestion. And remember, vitamin A consists of certain compounds called retinol, retinoic acid, alcohol, aldehyde, carboxylic acid, retinoic acid, in addition to beta carotene. And remember, retina of the eye, it is going to utilize retinol, and that retinol combines with opsin to form rhodopsin. Retinol of vitamin A combines with opsin to form rhodopsin, that is going to act as a light absorbing molecule. Rhodopsin act as a light absorbing molecule. Deficiency of vitamin A causes xerophthalmia and night blindness, vitamin B1. And in small intestine, we can find in the mucosal part of the small intestine, we can find villi. In between villi, we can find crypts of lubricants that has Paneth cell that produce antibacterial enzyme called lysozyme. Succus entericus is the name of intestinal juice. It has certain digestive enzymes like maltase, lactase, sucrase, dipeptidase, lipases and nucleosidase. These are the enzymes present in intestinal juice. Now digested food like fructose are going to absorbed into the blood from the intestine through facilitated transport through the proteins present in the membrane. With the help of those proteins, fructose and some amino acids are going to be absorbed into the blood. Whereas most of the amino acids, monosaccharides like glucose, electrolytes like Na plus are going to absorb by active transport. Remember, most of the amino acids, glucose and electrolyte like Na plus, they are going to absorbed into the blood by active transports. And remember, fatty acid and glycerol, they cannot be absorbed into the blood because they are insoluble. That's why first they convert into small droplets called micelles. They move into those micelles move into intestinal mucosa. The small micelles are going to move into the intestinal mucosa. And because of anxiety and eating spicy food, there is a indigestion because of anxiety and eating the spicy food. And because of prolonged starvation causes a disease called marasmus. And deficiency of protein in the diet causes kwashiorkor, protein deficiency kwashiorkor. Deficiency of vitamin D, rickettsia. Deficiency of vitamin B1, beriberi. Deficiency of vitamin B5, pellagra is a disease you need to remember. And chylomicron are the lipoprotein particles. They are transported from intestine to blood. Chylomicrons are the lipoprotein particles. They are transported from intestine into the blood. And microvilli are the epithelial cells of the intestine. They helps in food transportation. And vitamin B12 is also called as cyanocobalamin, is the only vitamin not found in the vegetables. The only vitamins not found in the vegetable is vitamin B12, that is also called as cyanocobalamin. So it is present in animal protein like meat, liver, fish, and a bacteria called spirulina, protein rich bacteria called spirulina. So these are the important points about digestion and absorption. Please revise and make sure you are perfect in this topic for the NEET exam.